culture of perfectionism, which we as well as we are looking into our children, which is raising up, which is increasing every day. You know, thank you, Kamal. So it's like what you've seen children and the parents even talking about. Good evening, Geetu ma'am. Welcome to this discussion. So we have seen parents talking about that our child has been working all night and has done a wonderful project and has done a fantastic work to do this exercise, and I'm so proud of it. So there can be two aspects to look into this situation if we see. There is one way that we see that we are sort of increasing the perfectionism in the child, or we are supporting that perfectionism, or we are imposing our perfectionism onto the child. So you've taken three aspects to it. Now, this is a question for all the conscious parents, that what are we looking at and how we are looking at. It is not always, what child does, but it is how the parent responds to it. It's very simple. It's very simple like that. So first of all, what we need to understand is what is perfectionism and why the grip of perfectionism is capturing each and everybody. Let's go deep into it, and I question all of you to do a little research and think about it. थोड़ी देर रुक के ना इस बात को सोचिए कि हमने जो अपने लिए ये चीजें बना रखी हैं कि ये परफेक्ट है और ये परफेक्ट नहीं है, वो कैसे बनी? How we have summarized that what is perfect in our situation, what is good, what is bad, and this is how our child needs to go about, and this is our child needs to achieve. So the constitution of the perfectionism, if we see that it has been done by the formation of the unrealistic goals for ourselves and as well for our child. So majority of the times if you see, okay, they are raised in like where the child is, they themselves have that feeling of perfectionism in them, but majority of the time is the surroundings which is imposing that perfectionism on the child. So we would go deep into it and look into the different situations and how we can overcome. That would be the one step ahead to deal with the things. Now, looking into the situation that what are the different kinds of perfectionism we have. Let's talk about this first. So the first type of the perfectionism I'll talk about here is the other-oriented perfectionism, which we don't even realize. Now, what is this other-oriented perfectionism? This is like what we make for the others around us. For example, I would take a simple example of anybody working with us, any help or any colleague who is working with us. They have their capacities. We know that they can do certain amount of work in a certain amount of time, and how we can look into this. But we develop our expectations and we keep on increasing those expectations to a level where those are unrealistic, and that is not harming that person, but it is harming us. So if we talk about as a conscious parenting, what we are doing is we are making those expectations from everybody around us, and the child, being the absorbent person, absorbs all those vibes and he gets into the similar mode. And sometimes the parents even also not realizing, they put on their unrealistic goals onto the child's head too. So this is like the other-oriented perfectionism. Now, second is the self-oriented perfectionism. The self-oriented perfectionism is you have more made the goals for yourself. कि मुझको तो ऐसा ही करना है, अगर ऐसे नहीं करूँगा तो मेरी कोई वर्थ ही नहीं है. अब ये अगर आपने थॉट अपने दिमाग में डाल लिया, पहली बात तो ये है कि आप वो कभी अचीव ही नहीं कर पाओगे, क्योंकि आपने अपने लिए इतना बड़ा फियर क्रिएट कर लिया है अपने साथ कि वो तो मुझे अचीव करना ही है. That is, I need to achieve that goal, otherwise I don't have any self. So this self-oriented perfectionism is a big killer. And somehow we all are doing it along this some value or the other. We are getting related to it. We are creating these self-oriented goals unrealistic. No, not understanding that the capacity what we have and what we can do. All the apples and oranges cannot be same. So though no two humans can be same. No two minds can work together. The major problem, if we talk about today in terms of the society, in terms of the marital connection, is our expectations on each other that the other person should move according to us. Tell me one thing. You're responsible for yourself. How can one person expect the other person should move your way? Same applies to the child. Those commandments, those dictations on the child, the child has to go according to what mother is thinking or what father has fixed up the standard for the child. They have to move accordingly. But what we are doing, thanks maybe, what we are doing, I hope so I'm able to convey the message for which I am here. Thanks so much. So, self-oriented perfectionism is the big killer. And why I am focusing that as a parent, we need to understand this is the child, they absorb each and everything, whatever they are surrounded with. Sometimes we feel that we are not able to, that this is not being communicated to the child, this is not being said to the child, तो वो absorb नहीं कर रहा. नहीं, but जो भी surroundings में उसके हो रहा है, वो एकदम से absorb कर रहा है. This software is into building. Last time we talked about how the software is built up till the 7 years of the age, till the 10 years of the age, and then 90% of the subconscious, the habit mind is all set. So they're absorbing each and everything. And this self-oriented perfectionism जब हम अपने लिए सेट कर लेते हैं तो हम अपने लिए बहुत दिक्कत क्रिएट कर लेते हैं क्योंकि हमने अपने लिए ऐसे पैरामीटर्स बना लिए कि जिनको हम कवर अप ही करते रहेंगे. It is always good to raise the bars. It is always good to improve on the things what you can. But important thing is you need to identify the things which goes with you. My innate quality is something that I am good in something and not good at something. वो मुझे अपने लिए सोचना है. So as a parent, I have this big responsibility. I facilitate the child to understand his basic innate quality. And I need to facilitate कि उसको मैं उसमें grow करूँ. Rather than child को maths में interest है, but मैं कहूँ कि नहीं तुमको तो science पढ़ना है, या उसको art में interest है तो मैं कहूँ कि नहीं तुमको तो engineer ही बनना है. तो वो चीज अगर कोई छोटा बच्चा कभी कुछ ज्यादा करता है and बच्चे are so natural, when they do something they come out so naturally. They know what they have, they know what they want to do, but we become blind with our thought process when we look at them. So this was the little explanation on the self-oriented perfectionism. Now the third is when it is socially prescribed. Socially prescribed is for example, like another child in the family, in the relative's family, is doing is getting the fantastic grades and going very high. So my child also have to go because I am in the competition with the other part of the family. So I'll put pressure on my child कि नहीं तुमको तो plus लाना ही है, A+ में आना ही है, फर्स्ट आना ही है, फर्स्ट 3 में आना ही है. चाइल्ड का इंटरेस्ट है नहीं है, हो सकता है उसका इंटरेस्ट पोएट्री में हो सकता है उसका इंटरेस्ट डांस में हो. वो सेज कि एक ही स्किल होनी चाहिए और एक ही स्किल में हमको पढ़ना है. तो हम वो परफेक्शनिज्म का बीज अपने बच्चों में अपने आप बो देते हैं, देन वी डोंट रियलाइज कि हमने क्या किया. अब परफेक्शनिज्म एक लिहाज से इट कैन create variety of problems in us, variety of problems. Uska consequence is very serious. So this is something very prime for us in our parenting things. What we need to understand is we have to check ourselves at every step whether we are adding to the perfectionism or we are supporting the child to grow in their own quality. That is something we need to understand. That should be the first thing the parents should understand for themselves and for the other people. For the child to go, for the child to blossom. It is very, very important. Now, let's come to the symptoms. I would just state some symptoms. I'm not trying to scare you people, but I think so. आप सबको ही पता है कि एक fear of perfectionism के जो एक वो है क्या कहते हैं symptoms जो हैं वो बहुत strong होते हैं. मैं बच्चों की ही बात करूंगी क्योंकि मैं बच्चों से ज़्यादा रिलेट करती हूँ. मैं यहाँ कहती हूँ कि बच्चे those children are not able to complete their assignment because of the fear कि ये मेरा अच्छे से अच्छा होना चाहिए, इसमें मुझे पूरा बहुत ही अच्छा होना चाहिए, अगर नहीं अच्छा होगा तो क्या होगा. उस fear में they create certain form of anxiety and then they are not able to complete their assignments properly. They would have, lot of worries before doing. They will be highly sensitive to criticism. उनको आपने एक बार ही कुछ कहा तो they will be like, feeling bad about it, not feeling nice, फिर उनका एक अलग से एक tantrums create होने लगते हैं. वो उनके जिंदगी का हिस्सा बन जाता है, जो एक किस्म का एक जहर है जो उनकी जिंदगी में धीरे धीरे घुल रहा है. और जब हम छोटे बच्चों के संग ये करने लगते हैं, अगर आज मैं 4 से 12 साल के बच्चों के बीच की बात करूं, अगर वो उनके उसमें हम ऐसा करने लगते हैं तो सॉर्ट ऑफ उनका जो खिलावट आने से पहले ही पेड़ मुरझा जाता है. तो this is very serious and we have a big responsibility when we have given the birth to a child, that we need to blossom them, we need to bloom them with our best qualities, whatever जो भी हम दे सकते हैं, बट हम उनको मुरझाएं नहीं, उनको बुझाएं नहीं. देन वी सेड कि उनमें एक टॉलरेंस लेवल बहुत कम हो जाता है. दे स्टार्ट क्रिटिसाइजिंग देमसेल्व्स. व्हेन दे स्टार्ट क्रिटिसाइजिंग देमसेल्व्स तो उनकी हर चीज में अपने में कमी ढूंढ लेते हैं. अब जब आप हर चीज में अपने में कमी ढूंढने लगते हो तो वो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है बच्चे के लिए कोई भी काम को करना, खुशी लाना. वो if he or she is able to achieve also what he has always wanted to, वो भी उसको सेलिब्रेट नहीं कर पाता. वो उससे पहले ही दूसरी अचीवमेंट के लिए अपना गोल बना लेता है कि ठीक है ये तो मैंने कर लिया, बट आई नीड टू डू समथिंग मोर because I have to do something good. I have to do this great. I have won this competition at the district level. Now I have to win it like at the state level and then there. It's good to go that way in the understanding that you are not running after the perfectionism, but you are going your track. अगर आप उतनी समझ से जा रहे हैं तो ठीक है, but if you're going blindly, then it is a killer. Then you have the trouble making decisions because you're always confused. क्योंकि आपने काम किया और अब you want it to be the best, but you will always have the thing कि इसको मैं better कर सकता हूँ because everything has a capacity to get better. Now what? I have a question here. Have you seen anything which is perfect in this life? We always stated an example. बच्चों को होता है ना कि चांद में भी दाग है, चांद इतना सुंदर है, बट चांद में भी दाग है. हम कहानी तो ये सुनाते हैं, पर हम करते क्या है? थोड़ा सोचिए उसमें. It is very important to see those things. अब मैं उसमें आती हूँ इसके बारे में. ये हमने बात किया कि उसके सिम्टम्स क्या हैं, which can lead to lot of other problems. ये स्टार्टिंग होती है. Now what comes up? इसके आगे की प्रॉब्लम्स तो मैं डिस्कस ही नहीं करना चाहती because they can be very fatal also. But we need to understand that these are the initial things. अगर आप ये देखते हैं कि आपके बच्चे में ऐसे symptoms आ रहे हैं, that is the warning sign for all of you to see. Take a pause. Observe yourself. मंथन करिए कि आपकी जिंदगी में क्या चल रहा है और आप अपने बच्चे के संग क्या चीज कर रहे हैं, कैसे कर रहे हैं, ताकि उसमें जो भी इम्प्रूवमेंट की जरूरत है वह आप कर सकते हैं. Now let me contribute what brings this perfectionism. कौन इसको इसकी आग को बढ़ाता है, कौन इसकी आग में घी डालता है, मतलब what contributes for this perfectionism. सबसे पहला I would say the academic pressure. Academic pressure has become one thing that we have sort of put our children into the situation where we are always poking them that you have to improve your grades, you have to achieve this. If you don't do this, you won't get the admission in your best college. If you don't do it, you won't be able to succeed in life. This. Again, I would say, take a pause here. Think what you are doing it. How you are doing it. What you are conveying it to your child. Is it correct? It is not necessary that every child should have the similar kind of grades to get into one kind of college. And you are deciding the college for the child. Pause yourself here also. Question. क्या हमने child की जो quality है उसको समझ लिया है? Is he interested in doing what he's doing, or he's doing it by force? We need to understand this. Second can be the biological pressure. There are some biological reasons if we talk about the obsessive compulsive disorders and the other stuff. That is the other case of the perfectionism. But yes, there are some biological cases where we need to deal with it. But definitely we have the ways. If you identify it at the initial stage, it can be definitely taken care of. So this is of very prime importance for every parent to observe their child carefully and see, and don't ignore the single symptom, whatever is coming up. How they are responding to their exercises, how they are responding in their natural life, how is their communication going on. Every aspect of the child should be supervised peacefully without any expectations. Then, now let's come to another thing. What brings it up? Desire to please. We want to be a goody all the time. That's the problem. That's the problem of our culture. And especially being a woman, I would say for the girls, it has been put that you have to behave in a certain way, this, that. Not complaining about anything here, but just trying to bring up that point here कि we have been taught कि आपको हमेशा अच्छा ही बनना है, आपको हमेशा दूसरों को खुश ही करना है और आपको ये करना है. क्या कर रही है वो चीज? आप नेचुरल रहना भूल जाते हैं, आप सिर्फ दूसरों को प्लीज करते रहते हैं. एक काइंड का परफेक्शनिज्म है कि मेरी माँ को तो ये पसंद है तो मुझे ऐसे ही करना है, then I'll get appreciated for some reason and that will make my life happy. Something which is very wrong. Yes, it is nice not to, confront each and everything, but going into a feeling where every step of your life is to please others is not correct. That you're not living your life. You're living your life for you become a puppet for the others. No, आप उनकी कठपुतलियां बन गए कि आप खुश होंगे या आप वैसा करेंगे तो दूसरे खुश होंगे और उससे आपको खुशी मिलेगी, जो कि कभी होगा नहीं. Well, I don't need to tell you these things. I think so you all understand it very well and you've experienced that in your life, that you cannot make anybody happy. You can do things on your part, but if you go into the feeling of desire to please the other people, it doesn't work. The fourth point here which contributes to the perfectionism is the perfectionist parent. अगर आप ही perfection के पीछे भाग रहे हैं, that I need to do this, you have set up the unrealistic goals for yourself, you are under the stress to cope up with your challenges and कि मुझे तो ये achieve करना है, नहीं तो मेरी तो जिंदगी बेकार है. I have seen a lot of parents talking like this कि अगर मुझे ये नहीं मिला ना, मैंने इतनी मेहनत कर ली तो मेरी तो जिंदगी ही खराब हो जाएगी. जिंदगी कोई इतनी छोटी चीज नहीं है कि आपको वो चीज ना मिले तो खराब हो जाएगी, बल्कि आपने तो जिंदगी के कुछ सुनहरे लम्हों को तो वैसे ही जाने दिया, उस झंझट में कि मुझे वो मिलेगा तो मैं खुश होऊंगा. बहुत छोटी सी चीज है, बट ये बहुत अपने में एक महत्व रखती है कि अगर आप ऐसे हैं तो फॉर द कॉन्शियस पेरेंट्स आई वुड से कि आप अपने आप को भी उतना ही ऑब्जर्व करिए जितना अपने चाइल्ड को कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि बच्चा तो आपको एज अ रोल मॉडल देख के वो आपके पीछे पीछे चल रहा है. जो आप कर रहे हैं वो अपने अंदर समेट ले रहा है, वो उसका सॉफ्टवेयर बन गया, उसकी आदत बन गई. वो आज नहीं तो कल वो बिल्कुल आपके मुताबिक ही आपके उसमें ही चलेगा. सो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि वो परफेक्शनिस्ट पेरेंट्स को ना देखे ताकि उसमें भी हो गए. यू हैव टू Understand that. Then the parental influences. Parents are talking. A lot of the media talk about these students, children, that this is this, this is this, this is that. And it is a normal conversation in the houses कि देखो वो बच्चा कैसे कर रहा है, कितना अच्छा कर रहा है ना, तुम भी कर सकते हो ऐसे. अगर आप मोटिवेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कह रहे हो तो तब भी सही है, बट कहीं बारी आपको ये डिजायर होता है कि मेरा बच्चा भी ऐसी करे, और आप ये कहने लगते हो. आपका छोटा सा ये कहना, your small thing, when you're conveying this message to your child, when you are watching some media channel where they're showing a 7-year-old has done something very nice invention, or you have those different reality shows where the children are coming and performing in different way, they have the skills and the talents which they which is like innate, unki wo quality hai. But while the conversation aapne uselessly you've compared those individuals with your child and just made a comment. I'm sure you didn't mean it anything like that, but आपका जो comment है वो ही बच्चे के लिए एक उसको ये idea मिल गया कि मैं ये नहीं कर पाता, and my mother wants to do it or my father wants me to do it. This is something very very subtle, but it has a huge impact. Those comparisons in our daily life, what we do, slowly, gradually, हमें इधर मार दिया उधर मार दिया, छोटी छोटी चीजें, we've become like, we've started communicating in that language. Our language has become like that when we talk, we compare it. See, he got the good grades and you are still struggling with it. He can complete the homework in half an hour. It's 1 hour, you have not still completed the homework. क्या जरूरत है उसको कि वो अगर आधे घंटे में दूसरा बच्चा कर सकता है तो ये बच्चा भी आधे घंटे में ही करे या 25 मिनट में करे. अगर बच्चे के पास काम है, अगर वो 1 घंटे से ज्यादा तो 1.5 घंटे में पूरा कर लेगा, then what is the problem? The problem is we don't have the time to spend half and half. We want them to do it in as minimum time as possible and then just go ahead. So think about it. This is like very important for us to understand. There is another point which contributes to it, is the trauma. It has been seen that sometimes when the child undergoes a traumatic situation, a certain sense of the self-worth उसकी इफेक्ट हो जाती है. तो उसको ये लगता है कि मुझे प्रूव करने के लिए I need to be something to prove myself, to come up in life and to show up. ऐसी सी भावना उसके अंदर डेवलप हो जाती है. Any kind of the traumatic situation it can be. So the child starts proving. हर टाइम उसको ये फीलिंग, whatever he's doing or she is doing, at the background he has a feeling that he has to go ahead and prove oneself and then go up. It can have the negative impact because the life has become then a struggle to just keep on proving oneself and showing your achievements to the others. Again, you are living for the others. So here comes the problem. So we have talked a lot about the problems, how things are contributed. We have just tried to keep them as short as possible. We can go on discussing them. It's long. I can state many examples to make you understand, but I think so in shortened script, I just made it quite clear. Now I would like to come on few points how you can overcome this situation. Yes, they are some ways by which we can overcome these situations of fear of perfectionism. उसको हम reduce कर सकते हैं, हमारी उसमें awareness लाके उसको हम देख सकते हैं, and then we see कि हम उसके बच्चे के लिए उसके लिए एक सरल तरीका कैसे निकाल सकते हैं. So let's talk about the first thing is to help your child develop the self-worth. You need to help your child to develop the self-worth. So what is self-worth? उसको ये confidence आए अपने आप में, yes, this is what I am capable of. When a child comes with this feeling, yes, I'm capable of this. Look how nice I can make this. How beautifully I can do it. How can you develop the self? There are simple techniques by which you can develop the self. What we'll talk about here. You can do some volunteering. Planting a tree. some artistic endeavors, these small projects. When a child completes one project, he gets a feeling of accomplishment. That feeling of accomplishment छोटी क्लब अप करके उसकी सेल्फ वर्थ को क्रिएट करती है. आप जब वॉलंटियरिंग करते हैं, आप कभी किसी भी चीज को बिना किसी इच्छा के करते हैं. For example, you are just going planting a small seed in your park nearby, or you are just going to some, you have different association, and you're just going to different association and doing some little work just for your satisfaction. So that gives the child a different, introduction to different things where he can perform. It develops a lot of self, and which is very important for the child to develop. When child gets involved into the artistic endeavors, so he's doing something, he's enjoying that he is able to do and complete that project, will give him the inspiration to move further. That inspiration, that ignition is needed to fire up the self. Now, let's work on the self-esteem. Then I would say, you need to help your child identify what they can control, what they cannot control. It is very important for us to build up that communication with our children to explain them. And मेरे लिए तो मैं कहती हूँ कि सबसे अच्छी situation होती है to go to a nature walk. I would love to go with my children to the nature walk and talk in a very normal way. ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं एक एजेंडा लेके जाती हूँ कि yes, I have to talk about this and I have to convey this message to my child. मैं जनरली उनसे बात करती हूँ कि देखो कितना सुंदर पेड़ है. Both are standing. A small one is also standing and a bigger one is also standing. And they both are enjoying. They both are enjoying being there. I'll just come to the questions a bit later. Let me just explain this part. So, and then showing them, when the wind is blowing, how the trees, they move, totally surrendered to the wind. They cannot stay at one point. Yes, they move. They are not static there. If they're static, they will break. So conveying this message to a child, उनको ये समझाना कि जब पेड़ मूव करता है तो देखो कैसे हवा के भाव से वो मुड़ता चला जाता है. अगर वो खड़ा रहेगा तो वो टूट जाएगा, उसको सहन नहीं कर पाएगा. इसका इतना सुंदर मैसेज बच्चा सिंपल एक भाव से एक्सेप्ट करता है, देखता है सामने, तो उसका एक एक्सपीरियंस बन जाता है. सो टेलिंग देम, there are things which you cannot control. अगर कुछ हो जाता है तो there are certain times if you are sick, the child is not feeling well and is not able to perform better in the school, it's okay. ये कंट्रोल में नहीं था कि तुम्हें बुखार आए या ना आए अभी इस टाइम. अगर आ गया है तो उसकी जो एक्सेप्टेंस है वो बड़ी सहजता के भाव से हमें बच्चे को समझानी पड़ती है. और अगर हम बच्चे को वो समझा पाते हैं तो उसके लिए वो चीजों को एक्सेप्ट करना बहुत इजी हो जाता है. एंड देन ही इज एबल टू फेस दोज थिंग्स वेरी इजीली. So it is like, talking about these things to the children helps them a lot. Third point I would bring up, that you have to talk about your role model, self, just make up your role models. For example, you talk about that, okay, for self-compassion, that I am kind with myself, I have done this mistake, it's okay. The mistake happens. Mistakes are the proof that we have been trying. This is something very important we need to convey to our children. कि ऐसा नहीं है कि हमसे गलती नहीं हो सकती, या मैं बड़ी हूं तो मैं गलती नहीं कर सकती. सब गलती कर सकते हैं. पानी मेज पे रखा है, टेबल पे रखा है, तो किसी का भी हाथ लग के गिर सकता है. बट आप उसमें, मैं यहाँ कहूंगी, आप डिफरेंस देखिए. कोई बड़ा पानी गिरा दे तो कैसा रिएक्शन होता है, कोई छोटा बच्चा पानी गिरा दे तो कैसा रिएक्शन होता है. We need to see that. So we have to talk about self-compassion, how we can be kind to ourselves. It's okay, it's a mistake that you've been trying. Let's try again. All the inventions have happened after the many mistakes. तब जाके एक invention होती है. तो हम क्यों अपने बच्चे से ये expect करते हैं कि ये कोई mistake ही ना करे? तो we need to talk about being kind to oneself, being soft to oneself. Let's see, let's discover. हमें सारी चीजें वो करनी है बच्चे के साथ जिससे हम उसको मोटिवेट कर सकें कि वो अपने आप को डिस्कवर करे. For example, I would say, I would state my example. As a child, I was given various things to experiment, but I was not able to discover myself that I have an interest in arts. I didn't discover it till the time I was in college. So I did my studies in 11th and 12th with all the major science and math subjects, struggled with them, but I enjoyed because that was the only possibility to be seen further. But later I realized that my total interest was in arts. I was a total art person. My total bent was towards it. So there I come, when you get to discover your thing, the things becomes much easier. So as a conscious parents, we need to help them, come up with this thing that, उनकी nature क्या है, उनकी quality क्या है, and we need to facilitate it to go. उसको फिर वो quality अगर हमको पता चल जाएगी तो हम उसको manure करेंगे, उसको develop करेंगे ताकि एक वो अच्छा सा एक blossoming tree बन जाए. Now, fourth point, the very important thing is we need to talk about the failures. हरदम हम आप देखोगे, आप जब अपने बच्चों से बात करते हो ना, ये talk about कि देखो ये achievement है, this is the achievement, this is the biggest player, he did that, he did that, he did that, he did that. That's like, so all blah, 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 blah. I would say blah, 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 blah. Because, things are always not rosy. We need to make a child understand that there are good things because bad things exist here. Right? They are the sides of the same coin. We need to make them understand this. We have to talk about the failures. You can understand success when you have known failure. Yes, then only you get to understand it better. And what's wrong about the failure? Who decided? Again, I come to back where from where I started. Who decided that this is good and this is bad? Something which has been fed to us since our childhood. कि ये अच्छा होता है, ये बुरा होता है, ये सक्सेस है, ये फेलियर है. हो सकता है मैंने एक ड्राइंग बनाई है, वो मेरे लिए बहुत अच्छी बनी है, वो मेरे लिए सक्सेस है, बट हो सकता है वो मेरे लिए फेलियर है मेरे कजिन के लिए, क्योंकि उसके ग्रेड्स अच्छे आए हैं मुझसे, तो वो मुझे एज अ फेलियर समझता है कि मेरे ग्रेड्स कम आए. तो वे तो सबके अपने अपने पैरामीटर्स हैं. और एज अ पेरेंट मैं ऑलवेज सजेस्ट करती हूँ कि हाँ, फेलियर्स की बात जरूर बच्चों से करिए, उनको समझाइए कि ये पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ है, एंड how to make this failure as a stepping stone to go to the another step, right? अगर वो कला, वो छोटी सी कला अगर बच्चे को आ जाती है कि मेरे सामने ये फेलियर है, इसको मेरे को एक स्टेपिंग स्टोन बनाना है और मैं इसको क्रॉस कर जाऊं, there we are doing our job as parents. Now the next point is we'll praise the child's effort, not the outcome. This is what we do in the art therapy. And being the art therapist, I focus majorly on these points, and I majorly focus on this point कि बच्चे की जो effort है towards the process of doing things is more important than the outcome. Whatever the journey the child takes through this process is enlightening for him. The experience he goes through this process is enlightening. The outcome, it's okay. वो अपना expression है, सबका अपना expression है. तो अगर आप बच्चे में वो बात करके ये infuse करते हैं इस idea को, that you have to focus more on the process. Enjoy the process. If you are coloring something, go deep into it. आप red color कर रहे हो तो red color करो. But don't go into this feeling कि पता नहीं ये रेड कलर ज्यादा हो जाएगा तो कैसा लगेगा. Enjoy the process, and we need to motivate the children to do that, to avoid these feelings. वो कोई भी exercise कर रहा है, they should feel happy doing it. Now, then comes set up the realistic goals. ऐसे मत करिए कि वो जो है एक बहुत ही हाया कुछ किसी बच्चे में अगर कोई बहुत ही ज्यादा आईक्यू लेवल हाई है उसका एग्जाम्पल आपने अपने बच्चे के सामने रख दिया कि देखो वो तो ऐसे कर सकता है तो तुम भी कर सकते हो। ठीक है, आपने एक एग्जाम्पल दिया बट उसको एग्जाम्पल को इस तरीके से दीजिएगा ताकि वो थोड़ी सी इंस्पिरेशन तक ही रहे, वो उसका ऐसा पार ना बना ले कि वो अपना परफेक्शनल लेवल सेट कर ले कि मुझे उसको अचीव ही करना है। The moment he will do it, he will start degrading himself, which we don't want, which will again have a very side effects, too much of side effects. Why do we have now the scientific studies are saying, I am saying, I was, so motivated to take up this subject, and especially when I created this program in Soul Splash, I made a special module how to deal with the perfectionism using the art techniques because the statistics are showing the mind-boggling numbers where the children are getting affected with this fear of perfectionism and not able to sustain and live their healthy life. This is very urgent. This is a warning signals for all of us to take the utmost care at this point. Deal with this, understand it, and I would say कि सबके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है दिन में एक टाइम पॉज करके अपने लिए क्वेश्चन करना कि जो हम कर रहे हैं तो उसको एक बारी अपने लिए देख लें, एक डिस्टेंस क्रिएट कर लें, एक गैप क्रिएट कर लें और देखें कि ये कर रहे हैं क्या ये सही है, ऐसा तो नहीं। और पेरेंट तो ऐसे मतलब इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू डू कि गैप क्रिएट करके कि मैं अपने आप को तो इम्पोज नहीं कर रहा हूँ ना अपने बच्चे पे। All the masters have tried to explain us this beautiful thing. The child has come through us. We are fortunate to give birth to a child. But it doesn't mean that the child has to meet each and every expectations of us. No. Child is independent. He has love. He is like his individual in himself, his life in himself. और herself. हम उसको होल्ड नहीं कर सकते. As a parent, we need to only facilitate to help them grow, to help them grow. And this fear of perfectionism is such a block. It's such a block that it blocks each and everything, and then we are not able to take it forward. We don't even understand that we have not built a bridge. Let me just explain you a little more about this. If I say, stop and question yourself. What is your expectation from your child? And what is child's inner self? दो क्वेश्चन का अपने लिए जवाब ढूंढिए. Write it down for yourself. Now, next step. You have to build a bridge in between. If you need to build up this communication, आपको वो ब्रिज बनाना ही पड़ेगा ताकि आप वो समझ सके. Otherwise, you will not even know. You will start imposing yourself on your child. और कई बार ऐसा भी होता है कि बच्चा क्योंकि आपको ही देखता है एज अ रोल मॉडल और पहले बचपन से स्पेशली मदर्स आई वुड से बिकॉज दे स्टे विद द मदर्स टिल their toddler age and 7 years age तक तो उनका सॉफ्टवेयर सब तैयार हो जाता है, सब कुछ बन जाता है, तो वो क्या होता है कि उनके अंदर वो अपने आप ही एब्जॉर्ब करते चले जाते हैं. तो we have to be, we really need to take care that where are we going, how are we going and what are we doing. So this was the small conversation I just wanted to convey to all of you about the fear of perfectionism. Now, if you have some questions, you can just put it in the chat box. I'll be happy to answer them. Or otherwise, we will end up the conversation.